This will be our 29th CME, engaged CME on rosale. And it is a subclass 5, as you all know. So we are doing Santanales. And why is it so exciting? Because it is a mysterious order of parasitic plants. What is the most important remedy in that? Which is Viscum album. And it is so big that we are going to only be able to do the generals and then only the Viscum album. Okay? Next time we will do all the others, whatever we are going to do. So here is Viscum album. As I told you, Santanales, we have now entered young adulthood, then we are left only with late adulthood and old age. We have finished womb, oral, anal, early childhood, school age, adulthood. So we finished 6 ages. We are in the 7th age and then left with 2 more, right? And this is fully into young adult. So the remedies here are all ones which we may or may not have heard. Most of them I had not heard. So Flor de Piedra, Lirio Sama Ovata, Oba Okabama, Obriveli, Loranthus acacia, Phytopetalum olecoides, Santalum album, which almost sound like sacrum album, and Viscum. So we have about 3 and 3, 6 and 7 remedies. We will be doing some of them next time. Flor de Pedre, Santalum, Ophabama, few, 4, 5 we will do next. So Santanales, what happens? We know it is all about me and the other, right? So it becomes hard to separate for them, me and the other. The holy union or the dependence on the other, it becomes very difficult for them to separate from it. And therefore they merge, therefore they have problems, therefore they may have, inability to make out who is me, who is the other. And then they have a lot of problems because of that. And then they have a lot of power games, a lot of, we know that they are all parasites. So parasitism is there, the drying up, the weakness, the exhaustion, the inability to work. And because thyroid is the hormone which, rules the working ability and the strength, thyroid is affected, and then the throat is also affected because they get choking. So there is a lot of poisoning effects, detoxification ideas, cancer, and autoimmunity. These are all the things that we deal with in Santan. So they are parasitic plants. All of them or most of them grow on hosts. And each of them, each family is only one remedy, okay? So most of them belong to different families, like Melanophoraceae gets Florpi, Lorantheaceae gets Plicoa or Loran A, and Oleaceaceae gets these two, Phyto and Plero, whatever it is. Santanales gets Okabama and Santa, and the Viscacia gets the Viscum. So we will be doing some of the remedies. Today we are going to mainly Viscum. The families in the Santanales, we have to understand a little bit about the families. So they are, tell us a lot of things. Melanophoraceae is one of the oldest and rarest families in Santanales. And see how they grow. They grow underground or attached to the roots of the host plant. They are attached to the roots, okay? Some are attached to the stem, right? Some are attached to a trunk. These are attached to the roots of the host plant. Then you have the Paranthesia, which is the mistletoe. These species are partial to full parasites that can weaken the host plant sometimes. But they know that they can't weaken it fully and they can't kill it, because if they kill it, then they themselves will also die. So they have to be careful. So that is where that idea about evil and all that comes. Then the Olicacia, these species are non-parasitic or hemiparasitic and found in the tropical rainfall areas, rainforest areas. Okay. Then you have the Santanales with over 1,000 species. This family has both, since 1,000 species, they'll have both parasitic and non-parasitic species, and some are used for medicinal purposes. As we know that we are using from each one at least one as medicinal purpose. So, it is an order of parasitic species that grow primarily in warm tropical regions and few in the colder areas. It is unusual for flowering plants. The seed of most species, normally the flowering plants have seeds. Seeds have normally a coat around it, okay? This lacks a protective seed coat. So seed is open. In most of flowering plants, we've been doing flowering plants, that they are mostly covered, except a few, right? So here also they are not covered, they are open, the seeds. Some species germinate first. First they germinate on their own. Then they attach themselves to the roots of other species, and then they wrap themselves completely around the host. Yeah. Others germinate directly onto the branches of other species via a specialized organ called the hostorium. So some which germinate themselves can attach to the roots, some which go to the host and then the branches, and then they germinate with there. So this we can see in the branch. This has attached itself completely, okay, around it. In both cases, the parasitic plant draws water and sugar from the host rather than obtaining them directly. Okay, so but there are few which we'll see where they can synthesize the sugar themselves, and only water and protein they take from the host. Most of them take water and sugar, all of it from the host. By and large, the host plant isn't extensively harmed. As I told you, if they harm it, they will kill it. And then the parasite would be doomed if they kill the host. So they have to be careful to absorb enough, but not too much, so that they don't kill the host. So there are leafless versus leafy semi-parasites. So leafless species, they lack that photosynthetic capacity, because leaves are normally the part of the plant which synthesizes, right? So the photosynthesis cannot happen if there are no leaves. So wherever they are leafless, they can't photosynthesize, and mostly they get attached to the roots. They draw water and sugar from the host plant directly. The leafy are semi-parasites because they can do some of the things themselves, right? So leafy semi-parasites obtain only water and minerals from the host while producing their own sugar through photosynthesis. So that's why those are in the roots and these are more in the branch. So we know that this is column 5 and row 7, right? We just counted all the inner ages, and this is row 7, which is young adult. So in column 5, as we know, and we revised million times, is that the separation and split is between the masculine and feminine. The masculine is now become assertive, and the feminine becomes suppressed. Relationship, companionship, partnership, that is what they all talk about. And the father is the dominating person in this. Rules, boundaries, dogmatic religion, fanatism, rigidity, these are the things that come into play. because the father rules. So you have rules and regulations, you have boundaries, you have religion, and religion brings in fanaticism and the rigidity. And you have the suppression, the criticism, the hierarchy. Most of the purpose of column 5, why do the masculine rule? Because they have the feminine also decide now they have to be more masculine, they have to achieve something, they have to work, they have to have ambition and a purpose in life. No longer just be feminine, giving, bearing children, looking after them. They want to do something additional. So they have to move. So then the limbs and the joint we saw affected, most of the remedies which we did. In row 7, they are all entering now young adult, okay? So now they know they have to take on responsibility, partake in life as an independent being, desires for advancement, okay? Social achievement, money, enjoyment, all the things that you get with being able to work, being independent, you do your own work, you achieve social, eminence, you get money. With money, you can do so many things, travel, enjoy, go out, eat, whatever. So you have enjoyment. And feeling is of independence, of assertiveness, okay? It can also have, we've seen in your remedies, it can have the opposite. Strong active sexuality. The young adult has to be active sexually, right? It has to progeny, right? Bear children, the whole uh, the whole generation has to come up and so on. So they have to form intimate, caring relationship with others versus difficulty in doing that and just want sexuality. So you'll have both sides. Sexuality may replace intimacy. But if there is to be any growth, then they have to form intimate, caring relationship. Otherwise, they will constantly be alone. So Santanales, column 5, row 7, what are the things which can happen? Dependency, which comes from the parasitic nature of Santanales. They can obstruct that maturing process. Because finally you're dependent on somebody, right? You're here on one side trying to achieve independence. That is where your role is there. But your process of the whole idea of being parasitic means you are dependent on somebody. So it can become difficult, leading to dependence, difficulty in maintaining separation from the host. And that's when I said earlier that there is this thing about, being me and the other, who is me, who is not the other. So separation from anyone on whom one is dependent. It always becomes difficult. Then they may hold grudge because wherever you're dependent, you cannot move away from them. And still still you need them, but you want to move away. So there is a lot of conflict in you. And you may hold a grudge for them. Actually, they are not the persons responsible. You have joined them, you have parasited them, and therefore it is you who are responsible for that. But grudges don't have a source, right? A valid source. It may become that you don't have a reason. It is emotion. So sometimes there are no reasons. So they may be difficult in letting go and even hatred towards that person on whom you're dependent. So you have dependency, grudges, and the young adult. The intersection with row 7 represents this young adult who's entering adult life, desires, as we have said, advancement, work, social achievement, money, and enjoyment. At this stage in the column, the young adult is supposed to step out into the world as an independent being and form a healthy, intimate relationship with another person. That is what the whole purpose of the 7th row is. to form something valid, lasting, and which can help you to produce progeny and an advancement of your race. But this parasitic quality of the order evokes a regression into dependency, which clashes with the need for independence and the formation of a strong, solid ego. You know, you need an ego, right, for advancement. So if you're dependent, you can't get that ego, and therefore it clashes. And you can see that, how they are dependent, and this brings up negative feelings either towards oneself or towards the other on whom one is dependent. So we saw either they can have grudges or they can accept. So intersection of this column 5 and 7 is related to the ability to form mature, non-codependent relationship, striving to enter the world as an independent adult. But the very theme of these Santanales is parasitic. So, the clash, you can immediately make out that there will be a clash. This is telling you be independent. That is telling you that you are dependent. You can't do anything without them. You sometimes can't even produce your own sugars. Unfortunately, the parasitic quality obstructs this natural maturing process, leading to dependence, difficulty to let go of the past, of people, places, a struggle with change, with maintaining separation from anyone on whom one is dependent. So you will find children living with their parents well into adulthood. We don't find it so strange because in India, it is very common due to whatever reasons, that grown children also live with the parents, sometimes due to space, sometimes due to need, sometimes due to not work, and sometimes just to look after their parents. So due to any reason, we have what we call joint families. So we don't find it very odd. But in other countries where they mostly leave the maternal home by 18, most of them are out. Then if you're staying with your parents, it becomes very odd. Okay. Or so you stay with your parents, or you stay with an abusive partner. We have seen so many cases, no, where you have abusive partners. So you're dependent, so you cannot leave them. So it may be one parent's abusive partner, or just difficulty with change. Which is Wiscombe album. You don't want to change. You can't tolerate change. The reverse state of taking control over another and obsessiveness in relationship is also seen. So you want to take control, right? You are dependent, but you want to be in control. So it becomes a conflict. And then you become very obsessive and saying that just because I'm dependent doesn't mean you can move here and there and become very possessive or obsessive. So here you will have the power struggle with one's position within the relationship, dominance and submission as a sexual manifestation. So who is the person who is more dominant? That will be the fight. That will be the struggle. So that is between the masculine and feminine forces within the person, which is column 5. You understand? So what happens is that you know that you are dependent, but you don't want to be dependent. So you try to be not dependent. But it all becomes a clash. But that person knows you're dependent, so he can still be dominant. So then you have to submit. Then you can use sexual means to show your independence. So it's always been a struggle. There might be an inability to separate within a relationship. Dependence versus dominance, exploitation, twisted relationship, evilness, and cancer. So there might be an inability to have a proper relationship with another, or in knowing when the time is right to end that relationship. Yeah, you can, whenever something gives you trouble, you may have to end it, but you may not be able to do it because you are dependent. And so it will be always a conflict. So it is, if you don't know when the time is right to end it, or you're unable to end it, then there's trouble with anything representing otherness or separateness. So this parasite creates a one-sided symbol. Yeah, one-sided means it's all on that side, and the host says, but I just let you board me. It doesn't mean I'm all the time clung to you, or I have to be only with you. So it cannot separate, but the host can do what they want. So there will be trouble. So accordingly, the nature of the relationship is such that one sides the other. So they can give back. Right? How can you give back? You've seen many wives, no? They give no sexual function. They don't return the favors. They say no, because that is the only way they know how to hold on to their little independence which is left. In extreme cases, if the patient or the environment tends to energetically drain or poison wishes. So if you don't, you can drain that other person somehow and or poison. On the physical level, this exploitation might manifest as affinity for cancerous tumors or physical distortion. And that is how cancers or other distorted elements can come. So detoxification and distortion, there are three aspects to it: cleanse, mutations, or exhaustion. So parasitism can be useful for cleansing, draining, detoxification. May also cause poisoning or distortion of the mental and emotional sphere. On the physical level, parasitism can cause distortion such as mutation, distorted nails. In any way, they can cause distortion. Exhaustion, parasitism promotes exhaustion on the mental, physical, sexual levels, leaving one prostrate and with a choking sensation in the throat area. I told you the throat is affected, the thyroid is affected. So the thyroid, the throat, all the batteries are drained. Yeah. So you have the thyroid, the throat with the choking, the battery. The parasitic element promotes exhaustion at the physical level and affects the thyroid gland because of its central role in monitoring levels of energy. Sensations of suffocation, narrowness, or choking in the throat area responsible for the throat to be affected. And battery means ability to act requires a strong ego and boundary. It is like once batteries have run dry and all the energy has been pushed out. So protecting oneself from intrusion, you have your main elements which are liver, immune system, and pancreas. The liver reflects the issue of protecting oneself from intrusion by others and is responsible for cleansing of the body of toxins. The immune system will be weak with a tendency for recurrent or protracted influenza and other illnesses. And pancreas, failure of the autoimmune system generates autoimmune problems, the detriment of the pancreas or the joints, as well as a general tendency to allergy. So you have these three protections and the three systems which are working for you all the time. But when you have so much conflict within you, and the inability to resolve that conflict, then all these three also get affected. What about the masculine quality and Santanales? Because masculine quality is talking about rules and boundaries and independence, and Santanales, what does it do? Column 5 represents rules, boundaries, suppression, and suppression of that, while the male quality represents separation and split between the feminine and masculine. So you have the intertwining of this parasitic Santanale with column 5 obstruct the ability to form mature relationship and strive into adulthood, right? Because they are parasitic, so they can't become independent. So this is the conflict of the Santanales mainly, is how to achieve my masculine quality and the independence that I want, which is dictated by my column. The second is the ambition and the life path. Column 5 also represents work, ambition, life path, and purpose. So now we've done the generals of Santanale, and we'll come to Wiscombe album, the remedy. The Wiscombe and album. So it is semi-parasitic. We saw that Wiscombe album, we saw earlier also, that it can produce its own sugar, and it is dependent only for the other nutrients on the host. It's a plant that grows on the branches. Whichever grow on the branches can do photosynthesis. They have nice leaves, forming a large green mass in winter. Dispersal is by birds. The sticky seeds are dispersed by birds. Hosts for sprouting. Seeds sprout on a tree similar to the host. So they go and they find hosts similar hosts. Then winter flowers. They are most peculiar because the flowers come in winter and bears fruit in the spring. And the roots grow inside the branches, merging completely with the tree, as we've seen earlier. They surround it completely. Okay, the droids, you know what the droids are, right? Droids. So, and the Wiscombe album. So, droids were those agents which led to healing in the old days. They were droids. So, the droids deemed it valuable in keeping away evil and gave you healing properties. Okay? So, they are sacred and healing. Wiscombe album we know very well, the mistletoe. Valuable in the new year, it was believed to be good to begin with the new year with Wiscombe mistletoe, right? So every time it was used as a transition device to serve as a transition between dimensions, that also. So dimensions here, we are talking about, you know, every story will have a Christmas tree and the Christmas day when two people will meet under the mistletoe, and if they meet there, they have to kiss. That is the whole story. Okay. Traditional medicine. It was used as a remedy in traditional medicine. It was used for improving blood vessels. Extracts of the Wiscombe album have been used to improve blood vessels and cardiovascular function. Treatment after stroke, used as a treatment after stroke for a long time, and it helps. So, and trees and mistletoe, it is no more parasitic. It uses chlorophyll from its own leaves as a source of energy. The rare mistletoe growing on the oak is considered very rare and valuable. And unity in nature grows on tree branches, forming a unity with the host trees. So winter wonders, it gets flowers in winter. It flowers in winter, lively plants, chemical activity at strongest in winter, the cancer remedy. It is used in Escador and anthroposophical preparation for treating cancer. Right? Beautiful, no? Then we have the sacredness of Viscamalgam. There is a lot of dark and light in that. When it prefers the light, it tries to depress the dark element. Its connection is to love and sacredness. It's a carcinogenic remedy, and we all use it a lot in cancers. It talks about death and evil connected to our world and death, ability to serve as a transition device between dimensions. Yeah, world, death, life, go into the other world. Friends or enemies. So Viscamalgam growth doesn't deprave or deprive the host. Yeah, parasite can sometimes grow uncontrollably until the death of the host, but Viscamalgam doesn't do that. Repeating patterns of Viscamalgam. One is branching out, where their outlays are 2 leaves. Then it splits, and every season into 2 more branches. So 2 leaves become 2 branches, 1 becomes 2 branches, 1 becomes 2 branches, 4. Then those split, and it grows on. So an endless pattern. A huge Viscamalgam mass is produced, and nature is in change. The cycle repeats, connected in unity with host trees. So one is, of course, the link with Christmas, which all talks about boundless love. At Christmas time, those who get together under a branch of the Viscam must kiss. Or it can also mean that you have got together, so you are meant to be together, and therefore you kiss. Yes? And you must kiss. That is the whole thing about mistletoe. Connected to our world, yeah? Disconnection from the ground. It doesn't need the ground to grow. Some plants we saw attached to the roots, right? It needs the ground. Here it can grow on the branch and it can do its own photosynthesis. Why? Because it has to be connected to the sky. So always closer to the air and the sky. And you have to be to the sky. Now, love is all about growth and sky and not so much the ground. Mistletoe grows in balance with nature. Lightness, it is positive association. Denial to all that is dark and black, and related to tendency to link wisdom to love. Darkness has all these challenges and denial. Denial, you want to deny that dark, despite a pathology that points to severe problems. You know, cancer can talk about a lot of serious problems. But to deny that and still be positive, that is systematic. It's a plant that displays parasitic behavior towards the host, but let's learn some more. A sense of restlessness, because it finally you have cancer, so you have tiredness, exhaustion, sadness, apathy, internal restlessness are common. Those affected may not like to be comforted or want people around them, as if afraid their boundaries would be crossed. So they may not want people around because they feel their boundaries may be crossed. So that is restlessness. And evening depression, a sense of optimism. You've seen all the through this light, love, all that. So all through the day, it may be optimistic and wanting to communicate with others, but in the evening, there is depression. Fear of death is also common. With such a significantly serious disease, fear of death may be common. Then tendency to suicide. Those affected may reach a stage where they need some other drugs, or extreme states where you have manic excitement right till depression. In extreme states, there be tendency to suicide. Fears of open spaces. Can fear open spaces, losing oneself, boundaries being breached. This fear can lead to metrorrhagia, due to hypertrophy of the uterine wall. And challenges of change. Persistent memory can cause difficulty with change. Those affected may dwell on past disagreeable. Yeah. We said always light, 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 but of course there are some dark, and that is the past disagreeable occurrences with persistent thoughts of them. Fear of changes. They're very sensitive to environmental changes and feel stuck. They even want to, fear the phone ringing, and they want to lie down quietly with their eyes closed. That as if my eyes are closed, it's like the child, no? There's a game which we play with children, right? We used to say, Yakanu, no, in Tamil. So we have to say, where are you? Where are you? Oh, I'm here, I'm here. You take it out. So if you are hidden below a sheet, then you're no longer there. Yeah. So if you close your eyes, then you don't hear the phone ringing. No internal guidance. Okay. They may be full of plan, but have no ability for execution. They may feel as though everything they had was taken away and they have no internal guidance. So dependency and love, extreme dependency. There's a sweet dependency here. A child who stays obedient even as he grows up, lives in the shadow of his parent and has stunted growth. All the time he's under shadow, all the time you are told what to do and say this is not correct and this is the way to be. So then it leads to not so much growth, but not always so. In India, we see people are grown, right? They do their own thing. They just may live with their parents for whatever reason. But it may happen that your parents are dominating and you're constantly not able to grow. Love-hate relationship, friendship betray them because they are too trustworthy. So you trust so much, then you may get betrayed also. The parent doesn't listen, doesn't help the child to have a voice, and constantly says, oh, you're still a child. Okay? Extreme dependency accompanied with love can also occur. Even if your parents love you a lot, even then you can smother you, right? The bodily symptoms may be staggering gait. Those affected may feel light, nearly flying, or stumble down and fall down. They may have a staggering gait, feel tired in their limbs, and experience lot of vertigo, ataxia, and so on. Muscle spasms and trembling. They may also experience sudden muscle spasms, trembling, and diarrhea, as well as convulsions, epilepsy. Facial pain and half face paralysis has a strong affinity for painful facialis, painful attacks alternating with half face paralysis. Autoimmune diseases. It is a parasitic behavior. It's a parasitic plant because a strong affinity for autoimmune diseases, cancer, colon cancer, lymphoma, HIV, can also cause hemorrhages. Joint problems and rheumatism, the strong affinity for high blood and cardiac problems, sciatica, spasms, convulsion, joint problems, and ENT, we've seen the throat, we've seen the thyroid. So ENT, it can lead to chronic postnasal drip, obstruction of the nose, severe asthma, ENT problems going to the chest or the side. Poor nutrition. Yeah, the child refuses to eat. That can also be one thing. Can occur as a result of the interaction of the parasitic plant and its host. those affected may feel they have achieved nothing in life and may be full of regrets. Frailty, gradual weakening of the body, frailty and susceptible to many things in the atmosphere. No hope of recovery. Lead to poisoning effects which drain and starve the host, giving them no hope for recovery. So holistic healing can occur in 3 ways: biofeedback and mindfulness practices. Biofeedback and mindfulness can help those affected stay focused on the present and ease their anxiety and around their situation. Acupuncture and acupressure can help elevate physical symptoms such as muscle spasms, facial pain, and half-face paralysis. And third way, herbal remedies. We have, of course, many remedies ourselves. So we are also falling under herbal. We have ginseng, St. Joe's wort, ginkgo biloba, which can all help to stimulate the immune system. Relief through therapy, psychotherapy. Those affected may find relief through psychotherapy, which can help them deal with their fear of change and their dependency. Physiotherapy and massage, which can elevate physical symptoms like muscle spasms, staggering gait, and posture. Music therapy can help those express their complex emotions and deal with fear of open spaces and boundaries being reached. So music, then you can deal with people, makes you connected to people, and then you no longer have this fear of boundaries being breached or open. Conclusion. Viscum album is a parasitic plant can cause massive damage to the host. If you identified with any of the symptoms discussed in this presentation, then seek medical help. Remember, holistic healing and therapy can coexist with conventional medical treatment to provide a lot of comfort too. So that is Viscum album. Yes. Now we're going.
Does this mean that you cannot use this? When you say, if you have identified with any of the symptoms discussed, please seek medical help?
No. It means that seek medical help in any form. It means that if you have identified any of these symptoms at all, you should use some help. It doesn't mean just medical in the sense of allopathic medicine. It can be psychology, it can be physiotherapy, it can be homeopathy, it can be anything. Yeah? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we do some cases so that clarifies some of the real aspects of Viscum album, which we can use. I use Viscum album a lot in all my cancer patients, but I use it along with the other constitution remedy. I use it in mother tincture form. So actually I was thinking I use it so much, but I can't give you cases because it is not only with Viscum album. So I chose to give the other cases. A child with asthma since 1 year. In asthma, she only wants to have cold wind, despite the catarrh increasing. Then she has rectal bleeding with constipation. And during even the interview, she keeps coming to her mother, rubbing against her, lays her head on her, gets in the way and demands attention. So very attention seeking, wants the mother, is very dependent. Now you can see the mother, how you're dependent, you want the mother all the time, and you also want attention. And then you don't want the mother to be, you're possessive. You're not wanting her to give attention to another person. Very loving, but obstinate and gets whatever she wants. Loves and needs to be hugged. Again, hugging and all that is also one of the characteristics of a parasitic plant, right? Even when you have it in other remedies, which may not be parasitic, yet that whole thing translates into being like a parasite. You want all the time love, all the time being hugged. You can call it parasite. You may not have labeled it so far, but you can always think like that. So close to the mother, mother even stumbles, she'll cry. Mother says she's the blessing of my life. But the mother is a soft woman and the child really drains her out. Funny thing was, the father is in jail for stealing all her parents, means mother's parents' money. Very strange. So that was it. That is the case. And she got the Wisdom album and she stopped hugging the mother so much, being so dependent. Case 2, which is of Alice Timmerman. He was 18 years old, and because of many suicidal attempts, he was hospitalized many times. Parents were worried that he wouldn't survive there because of his sensitivity. Very clairvoyant. He tries to commit suicide every hour. He requires a constant watch and the presence of his parents. And they've given him, they love him so much, he's supposed to stay at home and be near him all the time. Can you believe this? If you every hour means you can't leave him at all, right? Very difficult. How do the parents do it? Then he's a real parasite. He's kept his parents attached to him all the time. From time to time, he attempted to kill someone following messages received from above. He said he received from the other world messages. They had to kill somebody. He said, I only want the beauty of heaven. He says, I don't have any problem here, but I just want to be there. It is so beautiful up there. Here, everything looks negative. Only I love my parents. They are so good to me. So I'm staying here. But you can't compare how good it is over there. It is heaven. It is Eden. People here aren't friendly. Sometimes they try to kill. I want to jump off the balcony. I feel the body wants to commit suicide. This thought keeps coming and I simply want to be there. What difficulty the parents would have had to keep him there, really. I see the people, I can't stand all this suffering. I want to be in this Garden of Eden. Doesn't know that there's an apple and a snake over there. It's a better place. The earth is not a good place. I feel empty inside. I want to wear only purple. This came up a lot in all the proofs. And his only girlfriend wants to die too. A bit obsessive. His parents can't stop him from going to her place all the time. And they both want to die. How can they also go with him to her place? I can see the world before and after. Whenever I feel bad, I can communicate with both my grandmothers. 3 years ago, his grandmother passed away, and it's since then that he became connected. He tells his mother that in the womb, he had a twin sister who perished in the 3rd month of pregnancy. This the gynecologist could confirm. Strange, no? When his grandmother died, he went out of his body and saw himself from above. He feels that he is in hell as well as in a beautiful world here. The exciting cause was abuse. He was bullied at school. He was a very sensitive child. So he will be bullied, right? The teacher didn't believe him and this lasted for a year. So from an open and spontaneous child, he withdrew. Became nervous, angry, shouting, wanting to be left alone. And then this drive to commit suicide cropped up after that. See everybody teasing him, teacher not believing him. Yeah, and saying you only are making up stories. This boy is so good. The idea of emptiness inside, of staying young, not growing old, relates to wisdom. Yeah, being joyful, having balloon, being active, being young. Beautiful picture. The split, the confusion, and the sensation that he is lighter than air, the vertigo, all point to an ungrounded state often seen in viscum. The plant is strongly tied to a needed metamorphosis from a very bad state, from death to life. When this does not happen, the energy turns to pathology and cancerous growth. So you need to come out of that bad state, yeah? And this is metamorphism. When you have to come out from a bad state to a good state, you need a kind of complete change in your thinking, in your physical, your thinking which will affect the physical. And if it does not happen, then it becomes cancer. The fantasy of wisdom is to be in heaven, but in an empty place without the self. You know, heaven, how just looks beautiful. So not, it's like empty heaven, yeah? Without the person. Blissful state, that is not true bliss. That is a split, a column where one side is spiritual, as if in heaven, other side is the dark. Wants to kill himself, kill others, kill oneself with cancer without dealing with these suppressed issues. With the remedy, his desire for suicide stopped, the medication was stopped, and he became independent and got out of the house to meet other people. They have not written which potency they gave or how much they repeated. Our last case, Franz Svoboda's case. She was a woman of 50. She comes in within 25 minutes, she had told me everything. Entire life story, all her problems. We are both exhausted by then. She complains of auricular atrial fibrillation off and on. And the attack can last for 2 days. A dangerous state since it can cause a stroke. She's full-bodied, proper woman, well-built, spontaneous, vivacious, and energetic. I'm so nervous, no one can believe it, because I'm so vivacious otherwise. So nobody can believe that I'm, so nervous. I wake every 3 hours because of someone's heart's condition. Severe pounding, and I can't rest on my left side. Pinches my heart, makes me anxious. An operation was suggested, but she doesn't want to go through it. She said there were always problems in my life. As a child, they gave me to my mother, to my grandmother, so that I should take care of her. I had a spouse, but he died. My current husband is okay. But there's so much to do. Work on our shop, work in the house. And now finally when I can rest, these heart problems are. I feel trapped. I just locked in a room. Menses stopped. I had 3 accidents. None of them were my fault. So she's saying I have no control over my life. Everything just happens to me. Went to my grandmother to look after her. I was sent there. My husband died. Then I have a current husband. There's too much work because there's a shop also which I have to look after, and the house, and so on. I feel trapped. By nature, she can't bear to see others suffering. Immediately, she wants to take it on herself. She is so much into other people. Nervous when the children are noisy. Constant worry, one will fall down, and she becomes anxious, fearing that they may fall down. Fear to go down the cellars alone, because difficulty descending to the cellars are always connected with subconscious, underworld, wants to stay above. So she is always in fear, constant fear, something bad will happen. Can't stand it if something in the house is not in proper place. House of 250 square meters, sorry, it's too much for me. Whenever she startles, she feels stitching pain in her solar plexus. Ooh, something has happened now. Each time telephone rings, she jumps up. Ooh. So she's in a constant state of fright, energy, all the time reacting, all the time anticipating. Naturally, she will have some or the other heart problem. What happened, she thinks? She has scoliosis, pain in the thyroid area. Thyroid is very important. Something presses outward. Whenever she's uptight, there are red spots on the external throat. Aversion is to fish and meat. She still takes care of an old aunt of hers. She's tired and exhausted. Must sleep 1.5 hours every afternoon. So she's still taking care of people, just like her grandmother. She had to take care of. Now she had to take care of her aunt. Plus she has the children. Plus she has the house. Plus she has the shop. Too much, too much, too much. When she's tired, she gets tearful. Despite her fatigue, she can't fall asleep at night. She was always a hard worker. My ex-husband didn't work. He was alcoholic. But he was a good man, never hit me. See, your whole idea of good and bad become different. He didn't hit me, that means he's a good man. Yeah. Today in our country, all our servants and all of their husbands used to beat them up. In fact, they say if they didn't beat me, he doesn't love me. So it's all a question of relativeness. In total bliss and unawareness of the parasitical state. She's the one who runs the big shop and the big house, takes care of the children and aunt, but she doesn't observe her own life. All this she does. Doctors take care of her, but she doesn't feel taken care of. There is something parasitical in her state. She exists entirely on the material level, and so total denial of everything that is bad. The Wiscombe album had this split between light and dark themes and total denial of the dark, of the shadow. They want to stay white, above ground, high up in the tree. Life is complete chaos. Things are happening, but she has no say in it. In fact, she's all the time overwhelmed by it, startled by it, fear of it. All she can do is work harder, give more and more, try to control the situation, but with total denial. It seems as though she has the energy for it all, but she's in real danger. She can die any minute due to her heart condition. Then what will happen to all these things she's taking care of? Who will take care of? Or she doing everything? She's not training anyone or allowing anybody to learn or anything or giving any responsibility to anybody else. Death is threatening and her reaction is messy, panicking, anxious all the time about others, but does not relate to her true state. Lacrimation when tired, fear of telephone, suppressed menses. She started on the remedy and then telephoned to say that her sleep is much improved. She's less nervous. She continued on the LM and her heart condition was completely resolved. So, I hope you got some idea of Wiscombe album, the Santanales, and how to use them by doing the 3 cases. If anybody has a case to share, please do so now. I use them only in cancer cases. So anyone wants to share, ask any question? Which book to refer? Wisdom manual is there in every book. Anything else? Any other question? Thank you. Anything else? Today we could do only one remedy because it was so big. And I thought 3 cases will take a long time to do with such a long. So thank you very much. So we finished early. Nobody has anything to share, and we'll call it a day. Thank you, Rama. Thank you, Brahmin. Thank you.
There are in chat box, there are many thanking you personally in details, the wisdom album, which they have corrected themselves also. They were not especially, they are now know the medicine in depth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, even Santanales, I think it was very beautifully explained. Your slides are very nice pictures.
Yeah. Very
Thank you.
very nice slides.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Dr. Bijal Shah, special thanks to you. You are following Preeti and so very much. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Even though we finished early, but I think we did it in great detail. We didn't hurry up or anything and finish it.
No. It's exactly good details. But Dr. Rama, I want to take your opinion too. See, now since we have 5-10 minutes more, we can talk interaction with any medication which gives the best results, not only for viscous album, but anything which would like to, anyone like to share?
People have to
Hello,
prepare.
everyone. Anyone? Yes,
Anyway,
no.
people have to prepare for it. So next
Yeah,
time
but-
you share some cases. If you have anything.
Only one question. DD is with an animal remedy, no? Because this gives so much of a
so much
feeling
about
of an animal.
Yeah, because there is the ability to kill and all.
Yeah,
But here
and
it
also this
is-
grounding, not grounded.
But here it is still very much a parasite. It is leaning so much. You can't say it's a prey now all the time. Because
Yeah.
in an animal, you have to say a prey and a predator. Here, the other one was not a predator, you didn't see. And this was not a prey, it was just a clinging. So it was definitely not an animal, I felt. It was like more plant. But, you know, that kind of animal instinct, it was just to kill because he got something. But there was no real animosity and that whole idea of wanting to kill and being, you know, hurtful and being bad or being vicious or any such thing. It was just that he got some message which means to kill, but no idea why, when, where, wow. So that is
There's so much of connection with the other world.
the word.
Gives you actually the feeling that it is higher up the column, but actually it is very low.
Yeah.
Lower down the column. So that means it's closer to old age, which is going back to childhood.
Yeah.
But it's actually not.
Also,
It's
yes,
a young adult.
correct.
That's the confusion.
Yes, because it is now going down. It really should have been more closer to old age. It is just as only 2 steps away from old age. So the old age does go back to the other
Childhood.
world. And Santanales, why it is just here, we cannot really, except for the idea of not being yet independent and still being, you know, a young adult, but not being fully independent, because in the mature adult, we hope that they will be much more independent. And in the old age, you may come to know some reasonableness and withdrawal where it is not coming here. We'll have to.
Yeah, right. There's no withdrawal at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It's clinging.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you all next Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vibha. Thank you, Dr. Fatima, for some beautiful slides.